See here if I'm going to be able to record this. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the introduction of the High Performance Lab.
Having fun in the snow.
You're going to mute Stu there. So, well, Stu gets himself organized and settled there. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the High Performance Lab. And today we're doing an introduction as to what it means to be in high performance, what we're going to be looking to do through the High Performance Lab to help you be able to do more, achieve more, and get over your fears and your roadblocks as to what's getting in the way of you being in high performance and being able to do that. So one of the biggest things of being able to do this, I prefer if you turn on your cameras, because engagement is the #1 way that you're going to get impact. And going forward in the High Performance Lab, you need to be engaged in order to have the best impact. So I would appreciate if you would turn on your cameras. That way I can see that you're engaged and have you engaged. And also using the chat. Using the chat is going to be another way for you to be engaged, stay engaged, and get the greatest benefit from the program. Having said that, I want to know, initially, I would like to have you put in the chat, what are your ideas of what it means to be a high performer? And what does it mean to be in high performance? I want to hear what you see and what you believe for yourself, what that means. So please put that in the chat, and let's see because it's going to help us to judge and understand. Focused, Jennifer says focused, Richard says in the zone, Christine, dedication and commitment, do more than gigging, yeah. More does not always mean high performance. That's one of the things that we will learn along the way. Continually learning, dedication and discipline. Those are all great things. Well, engaging with clients, organized, relentless, engaged is certainly a big part of being in high performance, but being in action is equally as important. So a little bit, for those of you that don't know me, and even some of you that do, a little bit of my story that I want to go through with you guys is, so one of the things that I started doing in 1989 was I became a basketball referee. I refereed able-bodied basketball for 30 years. And over that course of that 30 years, 10 years in, I took up refereeing wheelchair basketball as well. And I was on a path where I had the goal and objective to referee in the NBA. And I put myself in a position to meet some people that helped push me in that direction. I actually had an offer to referee in the American Basketball Association in 2003. And then subsequent to that, I had a offer and an invite to try out for the NBA Development League in 2006. And I also refereed at the university level from 2006 to 2010. Now, unfortunately, I did not make it to the NBA, but what I learned through that process and going through that process was a lot about what it takes to be in high performance and what it takes to get to that next level. Part of the reason I didn't get there was the age that I was at the time that opportunity came to me, and their philosophy and policy that they were going through at that time. I was aged out, so to speak. So that was one of the things that happened for me in that. And then, in the wheelchair, when I took up wheelchair basketball, it's a whole different aspect and a whole different realm. And I've been very fortunate to referee at several Canada Games that happen in the winter for wheelchair basketball, having been on TV refereeing gold medal games, and as well as several national championships. While I was doing that, I also got into real estate investing. And in 2003, we began investing in real estate. My wife and I currently own 15 doors and have 6 joint venture partnerships within our real estate. We've bought and sold some properties within that time. And we also, during that period of time, took many different real estate courses, became members of the Real Estate Investment Network, many of you know it as RAIN, And that led to the opportunities that I had as far as getting training through specific Dragon's Den training done through Sony Canada, and winning a Dragon's Den award for that program, being recognized as the RAIN Real Estate Professional of the Year in 2017 and 2019, the RAIN Innovative Investor of the Year in 2015. I'm now a RAIN Trusted Partner as a mortgage broker. And I also am a certified real estate investment advisor, which I did through RAIN. When I first got into the mortgage business, I did that by working in private lending. I was fortunate to get hired as a junior underwriter at one of our local private lenders prior to our market in 2014, prior to our market going on the other side. And unfortunately, I was let go from that position in early 2016. But that didn't stop me, because a good friend introduced me to our good friend, Richard Anderson. And Richard and I had connected from the start, had some great conversations around mortgage brokering and what that meant. And Richard was adamant that I had the tools that it would take to be a successful mortgage broker. I thank Richard for taking me under his wing at the beginning and helping guide me through it. And I took what I had learned. I took what Richard pushed me to do, and I really haven't looked back since. And because of that, I've been able to be a Masters Club, Mortgage Alliance Masters Club member for the last 4 years consecutive, which is my 4 full consecutive years of being a mortgage broker. So that is where, for me, in high performance is going. And I've expanded myself by becoming a Smith Maneuver certified professional, something that I've also used in my own personal life for the last 15 years, and being a certified financial life professional. So the reason I tell you this, one, is so that you know a little bit about who I am, but I also, not to impress you, but to impress upon you that high performance has to come from many parts of your life, not just in what you do as a mortgage broker. It takes time, action, and a commitment to more. And that is huge. So one of the things that gets in the way is people's beliefs about themselves. So what do you put in the chat? What do you believe is getting in the way of you being a high performer right now? What is getting in the way for you? What's preventing you from being a high performer right now?
A big snowbank.
A big snowbank, yes. Being time management, being complacent, being a mom, confidence in my knowledge.
That's really.
I think it's accountability. You take it for granted being self-employed. You wake up, you do your, you think you're doing a lot of work, but the day passes kind of with a blind agenda some days. And you look back and then you think, okay, I could have used better time management, could have, held myself, a little bit more accountable to getting more things done throughout the day. So
shiny things.
Being from a more structured environment to being self-employed, you need that dedication even more so than being, just working your normal 9 to 5, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I think would help, just have, more, more tracking, I think, right? I think having a good calendar that you can kind of fit your whole daily schedule into.
Your calendar is so critical, Peter, as you mentioned. And so, we got things in the comments like distractions, shiny things, people respecting your time, being a squirrel, which goes back to the distractions, confidence in my knowledge, being complacent. So almost every single one of those things are related to actions. and an action that either you're taking at the time or an action that you take before that and leading up to your day. And so that is huge. So then the next question, so when we talk about being in action, then there's, and why aren't you being in action? What is it that you're afraid of? What are your fears about being in action? What is getting in the way and holding you back from being in action? Because that is such a critical part of these things that you've said are preventing you from being a high performer. So who wants to, you've got some chat, who wants to tell us verbally what some of their fears are from being in action? Jennifer, you put overwhelm.
There, I'll unmute myself. So given the accountability of what we're up to, and I've had conversations with Gavin on this, is like overwhelm, not just for myself, but for the underwriting team, because when I open my mouth and I speak, things happen. And so he asked me to commit, do it anyways, overwhelm the system, and then it just has to get handled on their end. It's not my problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it's gonna, overwhelm the underwriting team because they're already at max capacity.
So that's where understanding, and so for the underwriting team, it's a matter of understanding where they need to be in action, to be at in maximum action. We all have a capacity, and there's a capacity within ourselves, and we have to know what that capacity is based on where our performance level is, based on our calendar and what actions we need to take, what actions we're taking that aren't helping move us forward, and what's getting in the way. Is it ourselves that's getting in the way? Are we letting something else get in the way? And that's really what's huge there. So if you're, when you're afraid of overwhelm, you have a fear of overwhelm, you have a fear of burnout, it's really important that you have an accountability to your calendar and to yourself for what you want to do to be in high performance. So if you were to say today, what's one area of your life that you want to grow measurably, what would it be? What is one area of your life that you want to grow measurably? Vacation time. Well, don't we all want to go on vacation, Jennifer? I'd love to be sitting in Hawaii.
So Keith, for me, it's communication. So that's what I'm working on right now. When bottlenecks occur, it's often I don't know how to communicate or who to communicate to get rid of the bottleneck or the overwhelm. Especially running the underwriting hub, it's 18 different aspects coming at us at one time. Who can do what, when, and how do I communicate that? So often I'm in fear and not communicating when I don't know what to communicate. So that's my big lesson this month. Yeah,
and that comes back to understanding, and like for the underwriting team, knowing and understanding what it means for them to be in action, and how are they using their calendar to be in action, and what actions do they need to be taking.
So Keith, one more thing on that. What we're finding is if you're not measuring different aspects of your job and what you want to accomplish, you don't know where the overwhelm is happening. So I've done this for a decade where I sit there in overwhelm saying it'll go away at some point. And now I'm just more proactive at saying, okay, how many calls I'm making, how many delegations am I doing, how much time do I have, what deals are coming in? So we have all the measurable results, the knobs and dials to turn. So when it is overwhelmed, we know which knob or dial to turn to delegate. That communication and that knowledge has been key to another level. It's mortgage brokers I talk to don't write down anything. They just hammer it out as fast as they can. Don't really know that there's support. So I think this is great just to get other ideas on who can help and where and when.
Yeah. So one of the things that happens in overwhelm, when you get to an overwhelm, it's because you're hiding from something that you're afraid to deal with. There's something that you haven't dealt with that has gotten you into overwhelm, whether it's a file, that's causing you problems, or that client is maybe a little problematic, or it's you've sent it to one or two lenders and it's gotten rejected, and that file is getting you caught up in your own brain. And that's your fear and your block is actually that file. And that file is what's causing you to end up in overwhelm, because you haven't been able to deal with it and get it out of the way. And when you have things that are in your way, whether it's a file, whether it's something with a parent, a kid, a spouse, whatever it is, it's easy for your focus to get distracted and move. And so that you're not performing at a high level, you're not being in action, and you're letting something else take control rather than you being in control. And that's such an important thing. And I see that for things that people want to grow measurably, growing your income, growing a book of business, those are all, book of business is professionally growing. And those are all such critical things. And in order to move the needle, we have to start in the right place from the beginning. So if you want to grow your income and you want to grow professionally and you want to grow your confidence, what are you committed to? What are you prepared to commit to, and what are you committed to? That's the next critical step in becoming a high performer, is what are you truly committed to? What are you going to do to make a difference for yourself? What are you going to commit to? Are you going to just continue the way you are and continue to do the same as what you've been doing, so that you continue to only achieve the same as what you've been achieving? Or are you going to commit to more so that you can grow measurably and get yourself into a position and place where you are in high performance more often than you are not? It's difficult high performance doesn't mean you're in high performance all day, every day. Because if you do that, you'll be in burnout. You have to have rejuvenation time. However, you can put yourself in a position where you are in high performance. But part of that also comes from having a personal vision and understanding of your values and your virtues in your life, and working with people and clients that have those similar values and virtues. One of the things that I've come to learn and know and be okay with is telling a client, no, you're not the client for me to work with. Are you okay with telling a client, no, you're not prepared to work with them? Or are you afraid of losing that deal? Where do you come from? Where are you in your head when it comes to having a client that it doesn't feel right, but you're so concerned about needing to have that deal that you're not prepared to say no? And because you're not prepared to say no, you then end up having overwhelm because you're not sure how to handle that client, or you knew that client wasn't a fit. I've turned down 2 clients in the last 2 weeks because they weren't the right fit. Yeah, go Rich.
Just Diane and I talked about taking a look at what kind of deals were working for us. And Diane started saying no to a few deals that were not paying enough to make it worthwhile. But years and years, we just took whatever we could get just to make sure we could keep the lights on. But it is a freeing it's a freeing moment when you say no, and your time opens up to allow other deals to come in that you're looking for. So
Absolutely.
there is some power in no to keep you from overwhelm.
Yeah,
Or if a
absolutely.
deal appears to be fraudulent, then just say no to it and move on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's another one.
That's another one. I turned down, I had some potential of some very high performing investor clients who openly told me that they committed mortgage fraud by saying they were going to live in a property with and never had an intent to. And I, as much as I wanted to work with them, I sat back. I didn't tell them right at that time and moment. I sat back, evaluated it, and then emailed them back because I had to really review the discussion that we had to really understand that where their intent was. And I determined that no, they knew what they were doing and that was their intent. I don't need to have or be a part of that or have any kind of potential future blowback on me because of that. But out of that, by releasing that, I opened my capacity up for my other clients. So that's huge.
And Keith, just on the fraud front, I have to, the few people have left our firm and REIC has sanctioned them, that kind of thing. So I have to deal with their files that are fraudulent. So once you see 40 or 50 of them, you start realizing kind of the trends. So I'll just give you an example. Deal after deal comes in from one of the agents. They're all working for a trucking company. They've all started, the couple have started there in the last 5 months, and they're both on salary, which is unusual for a trucking company. So when you have 4 or 5 deals in a row that are all 5 months on the job, all for a small trucking company that has a house as a location, the central location for their business, you can start seeing trends. So there's an invite to reach out to me if you have a deal that doesn't seem right. I've seen enough that I've probably a good indicator on it. But those ones are great just to say no to, because they'll drag you down into REIC investigations and also just not feeling great about deals. So
yeah. So some of the things that people have put, like Natalia put, it's not losing the deal, it's not being able to solve their puzzle. Well, sometimes it's not your capacity or your job to solve their puzzle. If they've put themselves into such a position that you have to try and solve a complicated and difficult puzzle, again, what is your time worth? What is your time worth that you're going to put in trying to solve that puzzle? It's really not worth it. I'm sorry, you know what? Based on how you've set things up, I really don't feel that we're the right fit. And as much as I'd love to work with you, once you get things organized and set out in a way that they can be better understood, then I'd be happy to work with you. Sometimes it's not just no, it's not right now because of. And it's amazing how many people will actually respect you and come back to you once you've told them no. And often that reflects in how like the people that I committed the mortgage fraud, I didn't tell them that I declined them because of mortgage fraud. They may have other people that they choose to send my way. However, I know that, and for them, just telling them, I don't feel we're the right fit at this time. That's what my email was. And their response was, okay, thank you for letting us know. I feel sorry for any other broker that they decide to go and work with if they don't actually do that right, do that right digging with them.
yeah, Keith, one more thing you talked about fears. This is a bit different, but the newer agents are really afraid of asking clients for all documents up front. They hold the line until later on when it's absolutely necessary because they may not need that document or whatever. It creates a huge mess at the end where there's a file that doesn't work and you spent all your time on it. So
So what are you afraid of? For those of you that are new agents, what are you afraid of about asking for documents? What are you afraid of? Darren, Lee, those of you, Charisse, those of you that are new, what are you afraid of?
I think a little bit of you don't want to scare them off, but you'll scare them off later if they get tired of you asking over and over for more and more, probably.
Okay. So how do you, what is one of the ways that you can, so part of being in high performance is knowing how to approach those conversations and how to express yourself. The words we speak and the words we use and how we handle those conversations is huge. Because if you don't set your client up with expectation of what your expectation is in the exchange of the relationship, what you're going to do for them and what you are going to need them to do for you, if you don't put that up front, then you are going to limit your ability to be in high performance. Because now you are trying to play catch up on a conversation that you should have had at the beginning.
And Keith, Charisse has some training from Dave, which is passing on best practices. So do you want to share that? That gives you some help?
He gave me a really great list of all the documents up front, and he gave me this is the exact document. If you're picking the one that says this is not a tax bill, this is not it. So it's really making it nice and clear up front. And I'm using his email template, and it puts it all right out there, and it says, this is what if you can get me this, I can help you in the best way possible, kind of set it up that way.
And it's important that doesn't become a secondary, that email isn't the first time they're hearing it, or they're hearing or seeing that, right? And so all of my conversations with all of my discovery call clients, they all get in that conversation. Once I know about their situation, I am going to bring up what documents are going to be required and have an idea and an understanding of what their accessibility is to documents. Because I can't continue to be in high performance if I'm having to chase documents.
Keith, what's the wording or the intent you convey saying, until you get me all of these documents, we're not moving forward? Or, how do you frame that for the client to know that please don't put in an offer until I've got everything, or however you frame it?
Every situation, and this is one of the other things you guys that is so important to be in high performance. The answer to that question is it depends, because every client situation is different and unique unto themselves. And if you try to have a canned conversation with every client, that is where you will have failure. You can't have a canned conversation. You have to be a listener. You have to be a listener. You have to be able to pick out the key points, and you have to be able to reiterate those key points back to the client and understand what those key points mean as far as your ability to help the client or not. If you can't be a good listener and you're focused on trying to get through your list, you're going to have a problem in trying to be in high performance. So one of the things when it comes to being in high performance is empowering yourself. So how do you empower yourself so that you can be in action and in high performance? It's something that's so vital. And then what does it mean to you to be in action? Because if you're not being in action and you're not empowering yourself, you're not setting yourself up for high performance. Who here struggles with being in action? Who here struggles with being in action?
I think we all do.
Why are you struggling with being in action? Stu, why are you struggling with being in action, other than the fact that you were stuck in snow?
Focus.
Focus. Focus is a cop-out, my friend. That means you're not using your calendar effectively. If you have a problem with focus, you need to use your calendar. Your calendar needs to be your guide and your daily daily flow, so that you know what's happening from moment to moment. If you have a problem with focus, because if you're not, because if you're setting actions and intentions and you're scheduling them, you will stay in focus.
Keith, can I say something real quick?
You bet, Nivi.
So hello everybody. My name is Nivi. I'm a fairly new agent, but I do have a finance background. However, I'm also an insurance agent. Where's my full-time gig? I built an insurance business over the past 4 years. So I entered the insurance industry at the age of 45 with no previous insurance experience at all. And from day one, I was on 100% commission. So I have a wife, I have a mortgage, I have 2 kids. So where the drive for me is every night I have a book and I write down a list of what I have to do the next day. I get up every morning at 5 a.m. I'm working out at 5:30. I have a routine. And my GP once said to me, and he's got a minor in psychology, he said to me, we're not human beings, we're human habits. So in order to drive your business, you have to be able to set the habits. And habits can be good or bad, but I've set my habits to make sure that I'm going. And the fear of not earning a paycheck is what drives me each and every day. So I started in an insurance business with no experience, and I built that business to a point now where I've been able to come into the mortgage industry with a huge client base. And that continues to drive me. And when I'm talking to a client, I try and establish some form of a relationship early so that when I go through what I need from them, it's not time consuming. So I just thought I wanted to say that as far as where the habits are.
Yeah, and when it comes and habits, Cherie says having to set solid action goals or it won't happen. Absolutely. Natalia says not having a vision or purpose. I can't tell you how important it is to understand what your own vision and purpose is for yourself and who you want to be. Without knowing and being able to express to people who you are and what you believe in and what your vision and purpose is, leaves a gap. It leaves a gap because they have nothing there from you to solidly believe in other than the fact that you're a mortgage broker. My personal vision is everyone shall live a life of abundance. And that's one of the reasons why Richard and I have talked about and why I'm taking on the challenge and leveraging what I know to create this high performance lab. Because it's time that I took the next step in my vision by doing this and taking this on and committing to this on a weekly basis to help others, because that fits my vision for who I want to be, who I am, and who I want to continue to be throughout my life. So when the day, when the time comes that I pass away, or when others speak about me, they will say that, you know what, Keith lived his life so that others could live in a life of abundance. And that is such a powerful and important part of the whole process, because you need to be able to move the needle from A to B. You can't jump in and expect to start at E. If you haven't done the work at A, B, C, and D, trying to jump in and start at E is not going to set you up for success. That means you're afraid to do the work that's needed to be able to move the needle, because you're something you want to jump over because you're afraid to address it. And that fear will continue to block you.
Keith, can I just bring up one other point that it's something I'm looking at, which is our brains are automation machines. So when you drive to work, it's tough the first day when you're looking at your GPS. After the 20th time or after the first 6 months, you get to work and you don't know why you got there or how you got there. When we're doing mortgages, often we're doing as much the effort that we want to put in that we're used to. It's just automated and we don't really know how to break out of that automation. A great example is me losing weight. Yes, I eat a little bit better each day. Yes, I work out, but my weight doesn't change. I'm so much inside of a pattern that it takes something really extraordinary, like a really deep passion to be in shape. Having a coach, setting real time frames up to break out of that automation that I'm in all the time. So sometimes it's not just fear of success or even knowing how to have success. It's having a drive and a vision and a support structure to break you out of the heating and cooling band that you're in. Because when I look at enough people in our group, I can predict fairly closely what that person's going to do the next year unless they take extraordinary action. So maybe something in this performance lab down the road is looking at what that heating and cooling band is and why it's there, because it runs us all.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's, you know what? So, and that's the whole, and this is where engagement, engagement is so important. If you want to become a high performer, if you want to participate in the high performance lab, you need to be prepared to have engagement. You need to be prepared not to be coddled. If you're not going to be willing to hear the truth, then the high performance lab is probably not for you. But if you are prepared to hear the truth, if you're prepared to be in action and you're prepared to learn and be able to get access to more, do you want more money? Do you want to have omnipresence and authority? Do you want to have results? Do you want to have entrepreneurial excellence? Do you want people to see you as a trusted authority when you speak? If those are the things you want, then we want you to be part of the high performance lab. And when you're part of the high performance lab, you're not just getting me. You've got Richard is going to be part of the labs. Gavin, who I see has popped in. Gavin is part of the catalyst behind me doing this as well. But also, you are also going to get, there's someone that I get coaching from every week that you will get the fruit of what I get from my coach. My coach has 3 NBA championship rings and has coached or worked with people like LeBron James, Juwan Howard, Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, Bill Clinton, Tony Robbins, Ellen DeGeneres, Grant Cardone, Mike Tyson, and many others. And so you will get the fruit of what I learned from being able to be part of conversations with him and those people. And there are times when I'm going to be able to invite you into those conversations, and I will for those that are part of the high performance lab. So now is the time to join us so you can get more and be in action and start moving the needle towards high performance. We're going to do this every week on Friday, 9:30 a.m. We're going to do it for about 30 minutes every day that we do it. It's for Enrich agents, it's going to be $149 a month. For any agents outside of Enrich that want to also join us, they can, but they're going to pay $199 a month. And we're going to be doing this. I've got plans and other documents that I will be sharing with you for you to use to help you be in action and become high performers. The focus is not solely going to be on how do I do a deal and how do I get this deal done. That's jumping in at point E, because if you haven't done the work at A and B and C, you're jumping in at a point where you're not going to be in a position to get to that high performance. So for those that want to join us, email me and Rich, let us know that you're in, or if you know that you're in and you want to take this on now, put it in the chat. Let us know who's in and let us know that you're prepared to move forward. because this is what is next for Enrich, and for us to keep Enrich in #1 position, and for us to blow the rest of the mortgage world out. And by doing this, we also can show our lenders, those new lenders that we're trying to push the needle on to get them to come on board. These are things that also help us do that and move those needles, because they see that we're in a position of creating high performers, because high performers close more deals rather than floundering on deals that can't get done. Christine says, I'm in, Angela's in, Natalia's in. Awesome. We look forward to having you guys. Who has questions? Who has comments on what you've heard today?
Keith, I do. Your expertise, which is different than many other people here in terms of private lending, because you have that as a job, and commercial, which you're doing a lot of. Are you going to bring some of that knowledge base so people can learn about commercial or private inside of this lab?
So, well, you know what? That's not going to be at the beginning. That certainly won't be the main focus at the beginning, because being able to get and learn those things is again, it's part of the process. Trying to, and I had it. So there was a new agent who's less than a year that contacted me recently about a commercial deal and wanted to learn how to do commercial deals, but doesn't have an established base on knowing and understanding how to do residential deals. So if you are going to be wanting to jump in the middle, don't expect we're going to jump into the middle of real estate investment type deals or commercial deals, because you've got to do the groundwork, and we've got to get you moving the needle so that you understand what it takes. Because if you don't do the groundwork, you're not going to set yourself up for success and high performance. I didn't get invited to the NBA D League tryout because I went to one thing. It took process. I didn't get to be where I am by setting a record in 2020 in one of the worst years in Canadian history for markets. I didn't get there because I tried jumping the ladder. I got there because I did things strategically and in a process, by being in action and being able to educate myself, gain knowledge, and being able to express it.
And I think, Keith, on just getting to know you, though, you offer a lot of help to the group all the time. So
Yeah,
knowing you on here will help a lot if they're co-broking a deal with you in a large commercial project rather than just a name on a sheet. So I think there's invaluable stuff there.
And if there's situations where deals come up in the middle of high performance that don't fit where you're at, we'll talk about those separate from the high performance lab and what it's going to take. Because we want you to have, if you're moving, you want to move the income needle. However, this is where knowing your limits and where you are is an important part of being able to become a high performer. You've got to know what doesn't fit for you. Gavin, I know you have some great information on that aspect of people trying to jump the ladder. They want to go from rung up to rung 5, but they haven't even taken the steps on rung 1, 2, and 3 to do it safely.
Yeah, sorry, you cut out a bit, but yeah, if for those of you who don't know me, I'm a coach too. You have to take an action that's different than what you're doing. Like if you like the program that Keith's talking about, that's something that you're not doing. So you have to take a new action that's not already in your habits. And it actually has to be something that kind of scares you a bit. Because when it scares you a bit, that's the place where you're going to grow. So it's a really cool program that you got going on there.
Thanks, Gavin. Yeah. You've got to be willing to address your fears. If you're not doing something that doesn't at some point scare you shitless, excuse my language, then you're not really pushing yourself to move the needle. And when you get to that point where you are frozen and locked up, we're going to help you break through it. Because once you break through it, the next one will be that much easier. And those tapes that you have from your past, we've got to deal with those. We've got to deal with those tapes that you have from when you were a kid, those things that your parents taught you or your grandparents or your friends or your former spouse or whoever it is. We got to deal with those tapes. If we don't deal with those tapes, they're going to get in the way. You got to be able to see it coming and go, whoop, there it goes. I saw that coming. So that's what I got for you guys today. For those that are in, great. Love to see you. We'll see you next Friday. I will be sending out a separate Zoom link. We won't use Rich's because Rich needs his Zoom to be open for those other things that he needs to do outside of this at the time. I will be using my own personal Zoom link. So for those that are in, please email Richard and I, and then Richard will make the arrangements for how you're going to pay on a monthly basis, and we will send out the invite.
Keith,
Anybody else? Any other questions? Diane, go
what's the
ahead.
cost again for Enrich agents?
Enrich agents, $149 a month for Enrich agents for the group high performance lab.
And when are the meetings and how long? Did we go through that?
So the meetings will be Fridays at 9:30, about 30 minutes each. We talked initially about doing them every 2 weeks. We're going to do them every week. We're going to do them every week so that we keep you in action. Basically, we're looking at 90-day periods, right? But the information doesn't mean that the information resets at the end of 90 days, right? We're going to continue on. I will be recording the sessions. So if there's people that decide they want to join partway through, they are going to have to do the work to get caught up. Because again, you can't jump in at E if you haven't done A, B, and C. So that's what I've got for you guys today. I appreciate all of you for coming and being a part of this morning, for being a part of the Enrich Mortgage team. And if you know anyone else outside of our group that's a mortgage broker.
Hey Keith, Jennifer has a question. Is there a structure and end date there? Just so you know.
There is a structure. There is absolutely a structure that I'm building for this and have been working on. And as far as an end date, there is no end date. High performance doesn't have an end date. High performance is something that's ongoing. So there is no end date, but as I said, we will work in 90-day periods. The documents and stuff that I'm going to be sharing with you and providing to those that are part of the lab are based on a 90-day period. Because once you move the needle, when you move the needle from A to B, guess what? Now there's a new A. Just because you finish and you get to high performance in one area doesn't mean that now you're good and away you go. Now it's just, now what's next? And how do we move the needle for what's next? And 90 days to try and become a high performer in 90 days, I would say that you're probably looking at something unreasonable to expect that you're going to be a high performer in 90 days. It takes time. It takes commitment. It takes effort. It takes action. And it takes recognition of oneself. Any other questions?
Davey boy.
Yeah, Keith, can you just talk a little bit about how we make the payment cost you? Does it come through Sharon and Rich? Do we give you our credit card? How does all that work?
Those that are in, Richard and I will be sending out that information to those that want in. Those that want to be part of the lab, Richard and I will be sending that out, with that information out. We can set up arrangements as necessary. Obviously, for those that are within Rich, payment method and structure can be different than for those that are outside of Enrich. So, all right. That's all I've got for you today. Richard, Anderson, any final words?
Nope. Thanks for doing this. It takes a lot of effort, so I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.